It is my brother, Prince Markie Dee.
What up, baby? What's good?
What's poppin' with you?
Man, I'm good, man. Just enjoying Miami, you know.
Miami.
Yes, sir.
Miami,
let me say something before we start.
Okay.
I just want to say, man, it's an honor to be on here with you, man. Like, I followed y'all from the beginning. You know what I mean? Till we just connected, you know, recently. But I followed y'all from the beginning to now, and what y'all did for hip hop, what y'all did for the culture was just so amazing, man. So I just want to let you know, it's an honor to be on here with you, brother. You know what I mean?
Word, and not so it sounds like we just yanking on each other, right? But but you know, before we start the interview, I have to say that, you know, everything that kind of like, or at least from my perspective, getting on in the whole way that I approached the game as far as jumping in it, because it's, you know, remember back then it was a few ways that you could get in the game, right?
Right.
You could get in and you could be like the man of steel. You hard, you're just this rough and tough, and you the coldest MC ever.
Facts.
Or I took the approach of, man, just getting in the game and just having fun. And one of the groups and, you know, the people that I learned that from was watching you guys, because it just,
thank you, man. Thank you.
It felt like just being a fan and watching you guys, it seemed like you had a ball from beginning to end, you know. And full disclosure, outside of the business of music, I'm talking about just making the music and just being a part of the culture. It seemed like you guys just had, you know, you guys were just living the life. You know what I mean?
I mean, definitely, yeah. We you know, when we got in the game, you know, by winning a contest. If you've ever seen the movie Crush Group, that was kind of real how we got in the game. And we joined the contest. There was another group in our neighborhood that was we were just rapping locally, but there was another group locally that was a lot bigger than us called the Bad Boys. They had a song back in the days out called Inspector Gadget.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
What was it? Pebbly Pooh was in that group?
No, not Pebbly Pooh. They had a girl beatbox.
They had a chick. I had a 12-inch.
The main guy was a guy named T-Funk. And T-Funk, I used to be on the T-Funk wing. He used to take me around in the neighborhood to do battles, block parties and shit like that. And, you know, that's how I kind of got on. And then we formed the group. It was 5 of us in the beginning. And 2 other guys never wanted to come to practice. We used to have practice all the time, and they never wanted to come. So we ended up just being the 3 of us, and we joined the contest and won the contest. And, you know, kind of, you know, how it went down. But as far as the music is concerned, yeah, we just kind of just had fun with it, man. We were kids, 14 years old. I was 14.
That's what I'm saying.
Buff was 15 and Cool Rock was 16. So, you know, that was the kind
of... I had to be around 14 or 15. That's probably the connection, because it just felt like the energy was the same energy that I had. And it just, whenever I would see you in interviews or even in the Crush Group and whatnot, just your reaction to everything was kind of like the reaction I probably would have had being in that same position. And, you know, I know the story about the contest, and a lot of people, you know, a lot of our fans probably do, but some people don't know that the name of the group originally was called the Disco 3. You weren't the Fat Boys originally. Now, whose idea was it to switch the name to the Fat Boys?
Well, just to let y'all know, the Disco 3 name, we bit that name off of another group in Brooklyn called the Disco 4. Because when we took the name the Disco 3, we didn't think we were going to be making records. We just thought we were going to be a local group. We thought they would never hear about that we used their name, took their name and all of that. So we kind of just used the Disco 3, and then it kind of stuck with us. But as far as your question is concerned, I mean, you know, we won the contest. You know, we hooked up. We put out one song first that was horrible, man. It was a song called Reality. It was like, at that time, message rap was kind of popping. Like, the message was out with Melly Mel and all that. So the guy that we linked up with to be our manager, he was kind of directing us. He knew more about the music industry than we did, and his direction was to do this message rap. We did it. It flopped, and then we linked up with Curtis Blow. And Curtis Blow started producing our albums. And the very first song he did for us was a single called Fat Boys. And on the B-side was a song called The Human Beatbox. It was just Buff, you know, beatboxing, and we were rapping with it. But as far as the name change came when people started calling to book us, they would ask for the Fat Boys instead of asking for the Disco 3 because of the song. So it was my manager's great idea. Yo, you need to change the name to the Fat Boys. Let's have a big name change party at Roseland Ballroom in New York. And it was crazy. Another day I was on live in Funkmaster Flex Keaton, and he was like, "Yo, I was there." He was like, "I was there at that name change party." And it shocked me. I didn't know, that he went back that far. You know what I'm saying? So props to Flex though. But that's how we got our name, the Fat Boys. We did the song. People would call and ask for the Fat Boys. My manager thought it was a great idea, and we kind of keyed on it, and that was it.
And so Curtis Blow. Now, I was always under the impression that you guys hooked up with Curtis Blow at the contest that you got the record deal at.
Well, we did meet him there. We met him there, definitely. Right. He knew about us. He was one of the judges. Him, this group called the Fearless Four, with a member of the Fearless Four was one of the first Puerto Rican rappers. His name was Tito. Yeah,
that's my guy.
Tito. And
shout out to Tito.
Yeah, coincidentally, a few years later, I ended up signing Tito because I got a deal with Sony. Actually, I got a label deal, and I ended up signing Tito in a group called Menagerie that never ended up coming out because we'll get to that later. But definitely shout to Tito. He was there. Curtis Blow was there, and Curtis, my manager, sold the idea to Curtis, to work with us, begged him, and he was like, "All right, I'll work with the guys." And the record Fat Boys was so successful, #1 in New York, every day on the countdown, top 8 and after that, it was just history. After that.
Okay, and so like you said, on the B side of Fat Boys, of course, was the song that really kind of hit the streets and kind of the streets went crazy. Was the Human Beatbox, right? Yeah. Now, forgive me for from me growing up on the West Coast, right? Mm-hmm. I heard that record and I was like, "Yo, this is some new shit," right? The record blows up, and then I don't know, a year later or even months later, this guy Dougie Fresh pops up talking about, "I'm the Human Beatbox guy." Right. Now, tell me the whole story behind that. Like, was it something that was just kind of everybody was doing, or did you guys claim to have kind of cultivated and made that your own, or did you get it from Dougie Fresh?
Well,
what's the whole story behind that?
The truth behind it is Dougie. We heard of Dougie, before we formed the group. We heard about Dougie, and how Buff came along as far as him beatboxing. We were just literally just hanging out on the corner, just, messing with girls and, playing football, throwing around the football. And me and Kurat used to rap all the time. So we started freestyle on the corner, and he just started doing it. And as he did it, we looked at him like, "Yo, this shit crazy, yo." Like, we got our own beatbox now. And dude started beatboxing, doing this thing. All right, brother. He started beatboxing, doing this thing and everything. And we just kind of had our own. Dougie came out with some records before we did. He was the first one to put it on records. So, yeah, he's original. Like, he could own that. You know what I'm saying? And Buff, we were the first one kind of to break it to the world. Break it internationally. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, I heard it first from you guys.
Yeah, Dougie in New York. He was the beatbox, like the Human Beatbox. He used to do his thing, and their styles were really different. You know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
Buff was like a lot of bass. Like, if Buff would beatbox in front of you, you'd feel it in your chest. Like, he was like, really, like, and Dougie was more percussion, like a lot of percussion instruments, like light tones, not really like a lot of bass, but he was dope. Like, he
had the chords.
Yeah, exactly.
And Buff was the bass.
Yeah, exactly. And
now, was there ever? And go ahead and finish. No, go ahead and finish. I'm sorry.
No problem. And Dougie, like I said, we used to have a lot of beef with Dougie back in the days because we were young and stupid. You know what I'm saying?
That's what I was going to ask you about, right?
Yeah, we used to have pressure all the time. We did shows together, and he'd come out and rock, and then we come out, and then we tear it up, and you know what I mean? Depending on who you like, you know what I mean? You grew with better. But I remember one incident we had. We were at a birthday party for a friend, a guy in the industry. His name was Sal Albatello. And Sal was the guy that owned the Disco Fever. The Disco Fever was a club in the Bronx that was really famous for bringing rappers to. A lot of rappers used to come there. The Cold Crush Brothers, Curtis Blow, Lovebug Starsky, all those dudes used to come there. And the contest that we won, the semifinals, was at the Fever. So the guy, Sal Albatello, he had a birthday party for him. We're at the party. And they're in, Dougie and the other two guys in my group are by the bar. And there's like a glass wall. And I'm looking through the glass wall, and I see Dougie and I see Buff and Kool Rock. And they're like, it looks like they arguing. So I open the door. I walk in there and I open the door. As soon as I open the door, he's going, "I'll bust your ass." And he looks at me and goes, "Hey, your ass." And I started flipping out, and they all had to break us up and everything. But we were just little kids wilding out. Nothing really ever got serious. One thing that was really like a big diss that he did back in the days, it wasn't like these records are today where they directly will diss somebody, call somebody out and talk about they smoking your dead homie and all of that. No, it wasn't like that back in the days. A big diss that Dougie had a song called The Show. And on the show,
absolutely.
On the show, he said, and I'm known for the, and he started beatboxing. And not for the... Right. He dropped one of our songs. And back then, that was like, I remember my friends coming up to me like, "Oh, that nigga diss song, oh, that nigga." Like, it was just funny, man. It was wild, man. But that's as far as it really went, man. In the end, like, to this day, Dougie and I and Kool Rock, like, I got so much love for Dougie. Like, Dougie performed with us on the Tom Joyner cruise. We performed, and of course, Buff passed away in 95. So Dougie actually came on in the show with us and did Buff's parts. And it was amazing, man. And I always got respect for that man. He's a legend. He's a stand-up guy, and he's an icon. You know what I mean? So big up to Dougie.
And that was my next question, because that just hearing you say that, I would pay to see that. You know what I mean? Like, that should be like we probably got to talk after this.
Yeah.
Some live, because if that's a live stream, like, you know what I'm saying, like the Fat Boys with Dougie Fresh. That would be dope. So, talk to me about, now you guys, after the first album, you guys were like 15, 16, right?
Yeah. Yep.
The success was coming. Now, your name was the Fat Boys. Right. Was there any pressure to maintain this size or to get bigger to perpetuate that image? You know what I mean? Because, you had songs like All You Can Eat when you do the movies and everything is about this, that, and the other. Yeah. So there was no pressure like that.
No, there was never any pressure to do that. We just naturally did it because we were kids and we were just fat kids. You know what I mean? Everybody used to come to me all the time and go, "Yo, you ain't even fat. Like, why you in the group?" And I'm like, "I'm chubby. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not fat, but I could be chubby, But it was never any pressure now to maintain that image. We just naturally, like, look at Kool Rock. Kool Rock saw himself in the movie Disorderlies. He saw himself in Disorderlies, and I remember the day we went to the premiere, and that was the first time we saw the entire film at the premiere.
Right.
And he looked at him, and he was so pissed off. And I'm like, "What's wrong?" He's like, nothing. And then later on in the evening, he finally told me. He was like, "Yo, I look so disgusting. Like, I look so fat." I'm like, "Well, dude, you can't be mad at yourself for who you are. This is what we about. Like, being content on how you are." So he lightened up about it. And then it was like, if you want to make a change, make a change. You know what I'm saying? And ever since that day, I remember walking in his room like a month after that in his hotel room. We were on tour, and he's doing sit-ups, and he's really big trying to do sit-ups, and he looked crazy like a real big person doing sit-ups. And I'm laughing at him, joking at him, and he stuck to it, man. And if you see him now, he's like six-pack and muscular. And
man, I seen him on when you guys did the Unsung, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
He cocked D's. I was like, he didn't look like the same nigga.
Completely different, man.
I got a new guy.
To this day, I mean, salads, all he eats salads. He came down to Miami a couple of years ago, and I had him stay with me. I'm like, "Yo, don't stay in a hotel. Come chill with me." Like, so he came over, and like every day he would get up at like 6 a.m, go to the park across the street, run the park, do all the calisthenics, salad, like no sweets, none of that. Like to this day, he's on that, and I salute him for that, man. That's that's really dope. He stayed with it.
Is he doing it? Is he still doing any music at all, or no?
He actually has a podcast. I just found out about it. I didn't even know. He hasn't called me like
Word.
We make sure.
Shout it out.
Yeah. Damn, I forgot the name. I'll get it before the podcast is over. I'll get in touch with him. I'll text him and get the name of it. But he has a podcast. I'm sure if y'all were interested in it, you could just Google it, Kool Rock the Fat Boys podcast, and it'll come up. But he's doing good, man. He's living in Seattle now, actually, so he's on the West Coast, and he's doing his thing out there.
Okay, and before we go further, I just want to say another thing. I just remembered when I was growing up, I had my cousin Greg. We were like the same age, and we kind of grew up together.
Right.
And you look just like him.
Oh, for real?
And I just call that nigga Prince Markie Dee. And he wasn't feeling it. But I wish I could put a picture of him. He had the curly hair. He's light skin.
He must be a good-looking guy, dog.
Yeah, he is. in the end, he made it work for himself.
That's what's up.
Tell me a little bit about Crush Groove, the movie, because that was another thing. And before we talk about that, let me also say this. In my opinion, right, I thought that, even though I thought the group was dope, but, I've always been just a hip-hop head, you know what I mean? And I thought that as an MC, you kind of was a little bit further than those guys.
Thank you.
And so then, you know what I'm saying? So just, let's go back to the time. It's the Fat Boys. It's LL Cool J. It's probably, Houdini and Run DMC.
Exactly.
Right around that time. And then I would say Nucleus, but I would say as far as, we'll just say you guys were the groups that were kind of like on the surface.
Yeah.
Without saying the groups that were the popular rap groups.
Right.
But I thought that there was Run DMC. To me, Run was a god to me as far as rapping.
Yeah.
And then, there was like LL. But then as far as MCs, it was you.
Right.
You were next.
Thank you.
Did you ever feel like maybe because of the gimmick in the name, and then there was also, you guys did all the, the wipeouts and the twists and whatnot, that you didn't get maybe your props or get respected for your rhyming skills as much as you would have liked to?
Not really as much as I would like to. Yeah, I agree with you. I didn't. Like the first album, I kind of wrote almost all of the first album, a lot of the second album, and a lot of the third album, and then I kind of fell back a little bit. But yeah, our management was always heavy on us. Like for instance, the song Jailhouse Rap. The original lyrics to that song was more street based. It was, it wasn't as funny, like I fell asleep in a pizzeria, I bust in a pizzeria, and it wasn't funny like that. It was some hardcore, like for that day, it was what it was. And our management changed it. Like, nah, y'all can't rap about this. Like people, y'all make people smile. This is what y'all do. And I'm like, okay, I get it now. So we changed a lot of the songs on those albums to fit, what we were doing at the time. So, but I don't really feel underappreciated. I know what I could do, and I've always, known what I could do. I even know what I could do to this day. I don't do it anymore. I do it therapeutically. You know what I mean? I'm at home and I rap.
Yeah, you never quit. Real MCs don't retire. They just don't show everybody.
If you love it, you love it. You know what I mean?
If you love it, yeah.
Yeah, I got.
If you paint, you paint.
Exactly. I got maybe 3 albums or 4 albums worth of songs by myself that I could release, but of course I wouldn't, I'm just not into doing that no more. I love just writing music and, producing and still songwriting, and every once in a while I give out a song to a couple of people. I have a couple of other dreams and things that I want to accomplish. Of course, all day.
I still do it.
But as far as I don't, honestly, yes, but it doesn't really bother me or, affect me or anything like that, I know what
Well, let me ask you a question, because it's amazing that you say that you wrote most of that stuff, because like I said, it was obvious to my ears that you were the MC of the group. Publishing. Did you get it for writing that?
Yes. Oh yeah, of course.
Now you guys being young kids, I know everybody that comes into the game, me myself being probably the most guilty of it, I didn't understand what publishing was and what writers and what you get. So you guys were a trio, a group, but you're writing most of the songs. Now, when the publishing checks come out, you get the lion's share. Was there any divide or confusion about why this was happening, why you were getting the money, they weren't?
Well, first of all, we had a system in our group. In our group, everything we voted on. And if it was 2 against 1, that's what it was. And from day one, we were real friends growing up. So we loved each other. So we just decided to split all publishing 3 ways. And props, shout out to our manager at the time, Charles Stetler. He really made sure that we understood what publishing was. He made sure that we had our proper share. And when it comes to that stuff, he really was on key with it, on point with it, and made sure we were blessed properly. And to this day, we reap the benefits. Every 6 months, we reap the benefits from that Fat Boys publishing. And
so I don't feel crazy, because that's kind of like what me and DJ Fuse did with the first Raw Fusion album, and early in our career.
Right.
Because, he was a DJ and a producer. I wrote everything, but he produced everything. But in the beginning, we've split everything 50-50. So he produced Violent on Tupac's first album, Tupacalypse, right?
Got you.
But I get publishing on that song because we were splitting everything. So
right.
That's amazing. I'm glad
that's the best thing to do when you're involved with with a group to keep to keep everything cool. And not only that, we had genuine love for each other. So I want to see Cool Rock come up as much as I do. I don't.
Yeah, you want him to live.
Yeah,
right.
I want to see.
You weren't trying to get that.
Like, look at the situation now. Buff passed away, 95. So his children get the benefits of that now. You know what I'm saying? So that's something that I want to see happen, and I'm glad that we did that.
Well, while we're on it, and before we get far away from it, you kind of expressed to me, I want to say, whether it was through text, whatever, that you had a Tupac story that you wanted to share.
Oh, yeah. Well, I only met him one time.
Okay, tell me about it.
It was at a restaurant, not in the restaurant, but we were going to a restaurant. I forget the name of the restaurant. It was a Cajun restaurant in New York in the 90s, right when the big and pop thing was going on, like right in the middle of it. The fight was going on. And we were going to the restaurant. It was my mother's birthday, and we were taking her there for her birthday. And it was a whole bunch of my friends, a bunch of my family. And as we parked, I remember right next to there's a garage, and we parked our cars there, and we jumped out, and we're walking in the restaurant. And I'm like one of the last ones in. I'm like ushering everybody in. And as they're going in, and I look to the right, and a cab pulls up, and Pop jumps out the cab with a white girl, a blonde white girl. I'll never forget. She puts her arm around him like this, and she's not hiding them, but they're like real. You really can't see them, but I recognize them off rip. I'm like, oh shit, Pop, what up? And he glanced at me, then he did a double take, and he recognized who I was, and he walked over and we said, what's up? And it was just an honor for me to be able to meet, somebody who was so instrumental in the movement and the direction of hip hop and, what he did for the culture. So it's not really a crazy story, but it was the time that I met him. And, after he passed away, I was happy that I had the opportunity to meet him, because at that time I was heavy into producing music. So I was in the studio every day writing for Mariah Carey and J-Lo and writing for all these artists. And I wasn't really at the party or on the street. And it was just one opportunity that we were going to this restaurant, and our paths crossed, and it was just crazy to me. Like, damn, like, you know what I mean? Like, I've been wanting to meet him to let him know what I think of him, and and it happened. Like, God put it together, for me to get that, and I just felt, good about that. You know what I mean? So it wasn't really like a crazy story, but it was just a good meeting. I had the same situation with Big too, except I was a lot cooler, with Big. Big, we hung out. Like I went to a lot of his shows, and we would hang out, me and Puff. We would drive everywhere. Every time he had a show, me and Puff would go and drive to Virginia Beach or drive to DC or Howard Homecoming, and we go hang out.
Yeah.
And when I first met Big, I was able to tell him that I thought that lyrically he was one of the best people out at that time, And after he passed away, I saw the last interview he did. And on the last interview he did, he said that what gives him that drive is when people come to him and show love. They acknowledge that he really puts a lot of work into, he took a lot of pride into what he did with a paper and pen. And he was happy that people were acknowledging that, and it felt good to me, you know what I mean? It's like good. The first time I got to see him, I let him know that, you know what I mean, off rip. Before we got cool and anything, I just let him know that. So it felt good, man. So
you was a part of it. A lot of people are asking me on the timeline. They said, was that Madonna?
Nah, it wasn't Madonna. Nah. I know Madonna. I know Madonna. It wasn't her. It was another guy. It looked like maybe like a publicist or something, if I had to guess. You know what I mean? Like a publicist.
With his arm around her?
Yeah. He was kind of like more she was trying to hide him. Like,
she was trying to usher him into the thing.
It was the middle of that beef. There was a lot of fire going on between New York and well, not between New York and the West Coast, but between Big and Pac. There was a lot of fire going on at that time. And to me, I got the impression that she was trying to hide him because I was with a bunch of niggas, you know what I'm saying? So I'm ushering everybody in. So I don't know if she saw us while they were jumping out the cab. And he was like, fuck that, I'm getting out anyway, or whatever the case was. But when I saw him, I was glad that we got the connection and I got to tell him, you know what I mean, how I felt about him, and his music.
Right. And, Tupac was able to kind of fulfill his dreams of not only making music and albums and have a recording career, but, he was an actor, right? So he went to school for it. So he was able to do movies. And I believe, I speak for everyone, even for Pac and all of us of that age, Crush Groove was very influential on us to see our heroes on the big screen.
Right.
So kind of give us some insight and tell me what it was like shooting that movie. Did you have any input on how it went?
Well, just to let you guys know, before I actually get into that, the reason why a lot of people kind of look at us like as, you know, the trendsetters or the legends or the icons or all of that, you know, every time I run into a rapper, you know, I'm getting the bows and legend, like, yo, you don't even know, like, because we were kind of the first ones, us along with Run DMC and Houdini and Nucleus, we were the first ones on that Fresh Fest tour. I don't know if you're familiar with the Fresh Fest tour. It was
I went to everyone in Oakland.
It was the first, exactly. It was the first tour that really exposed hip hop to the masses. Jay-Z even quoted one time that's one of the most influential moments in hip hop was the Fresh Fest tour, because we got people in Little Rock, Arkansas. I remember being on stage and 30,000 people and, you know, little black kids in the front row, and they're like, yo, I could do this. Like, this is something I could do. Like, I love this. I want to rap now, too. Like, and it kind of inspired a lot of people, you know, because they didn't know about it. I remember we were going to cities promoting on the first Fresh Fest tour. We were kind of the ones that would go to all the radio stations and do all the groundwork before the rest of the crew got into town. So I remember our record sales in a certain particular city that we were about to perform in were okay. And you can see the numbers as soon as we left. The next day, everybody go out and buy the music.
Yeah.
It was amazing. But as far as Crush Groove is concerned, we had no input because the writers of Crush Groove basically said, we're just going to write there, give them a semi bio, you know, and in the movie, we're going to write basically what really happens to them in real life. And if you watch Crush Groove, all that stuff really happened. When we joined the contest, we really just joined it for the DJ equipment. We just wanted turntables, a mix, and some speakers so we could turn up on the block. We didn't know what a record deal could do for us. You know what I'm saying? And when we got the record deal, we were happy, but we weren't as happy as winning the equipment. Our manager ended up buying us equipment anyway, so we ended up having our cake in 82. But we really didn't have any input in it as far as everything. They kind of looked at our story and what really happened with us and put that into the story. You know, and we got a lot of great response from it. And because of our performance in Crush Groove and our manager lying and said that we opened up for Michael Jackson when we didn't, Warner Brothers ended up giving us a 3-picture deal. And the first movie...
Because of that movie?
Was Disorderlies was the first movie in that deal.
Yeah. No, I'm saying you got the deal because of your appearance in Crush Groove.
Because of our appearance in Crush Groove, right. Exactly. So...
That's dope.
Yeah.
So, what was I about to ask you? Fuck it. Let's just move on. Well, obviously, no, this is what I was going to tell you about Crush Groove. So one thing that you might not know, like I asked you, you know, the Fresh Fest came through Oakland quite a few times. And I wanna first tell you, you know, one of the memorable Fresh Fest that I remember it was one with LL was there, but that was one of the first big shows that Too Short got on. I want to say in '88, and he was killing the game. But to see him on stage at the Oakland Coliseum, 20,000 people, I think that was one of the things that catapulted him.
Yeah.
You know, that opportunity at the Fresh Fest.
Yeah.
And then other thing I want to say or ask you, what do you remember about Oakland or coming through Oakland back in that day, if anything?
I remember the Ricky, what was his name? Damn, Ricky Walker. Ricky Walker was the guy that actually put the Fresh Fest together. His main man was a gentleman named Mike Molden, who was the production. He was the production coordinator for the show. He was really the guy behind the show, Mike Molden. Mike Molden was Jermaine Dupri's father. So I remember Mike Molden and Ricky Walker coming to me, and the three of us, we were all sitting having breakfast at the hotel, and he came to us and he said, listen, we want to get these guys. We're thinking about adding some guys to the West Coast leg of the Fresh Fest tour. And the guys that he mentioned were Too Short. Damn it, I can't remember the name for that now for the life of me. The name had Party in it or something like that. If it comes back to me, I'll let you know about it.
Was it Timex Social Club? I think they performed at one of them too.
It might have been.
How do rumors get started? It
might have been. And there was the group had a girl in it. Is there a girl in the group?
No. Yeah. At the time,
that might have been them.
Yeah.
That might have been them.
Valerie, J. King at the time.
It might have been them. Them and Ice-T. And you ask Ice-T to this day, And every time he sees me, he's like, "Yo, Mark, the reason why I am what I am is because y'all put me on the Fresh Fest tour." And I'm like, "Man, stop playing, man. You's gonna like blow up regardless. Like even if you didn't get on the Fresh Fest tour, you'd have found a way." But he's like always like showing love, like every time he sees me. But I remember telling them, "Y'all better get Too Short and Ice-T on the Fresh Fest tour. Like get them on the show. Them boys is dope. Like they fire. We need them on the show for the whole West Coast."
Yeah.
Like
so you were aware of Too Short and Ice-T even on the East Coast?
Hell yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, they came and they asked about them, and I like to think, you know, it was because I told them, yeah, you better have them on the show. Them boys is fire. You know what I mean? That they got on the show. And so, I mean, I don't know if it's really true, if they really did because of my opinion, but I definitely stressed it. I remember them coming to me and asking me, and I stressed it. Me and Ice-T used to wild out on the tour, man. Like, that's my boy from back in the, like, from way back. Me and Ice-T used to put on Jason masks back in the day, and we go to, like, we'd wild out and go to like fucking IHOP or Waffle House and walk in with the Jason. I'm not sure how we never get shot, killed back in the days, man. We used to wild out, have a blast. I mean, we were little kids, you know what I mean? So, but we, you know, we had some good times on those shows, man.
Another interesting fact that you might not know, like Too Short, he was, you know, he kind of got famous, at least in the Bay Area, from making street tapes, right?
Yeah, of course.
And one of his, you know, known raps of main tapes, he was rapping over one of the Fat Boys beats.
Yeah, of course.
So he's, you know, he used to take all of those, you know, old beats.
Yeah.
Fat Boys. Remember Spider D, Smurf Dance?
Yeah, of course.
And
R.I.P. Spider D just recently passed away.
When?
Yeah, recently passed away.
You're lying. When did he pass?
He had cancer.
I know, but when did he pass?
Like late last year.
Real talk? Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, Spider D's my guy.
Yeah.
You know, him and Markie Dee.
Markie Dee.
Now, when you guys were, you had all this success, but of course, you know, you had to go back home to New York, Brooklyn, right? Were there any, tell us about any notable, because I don't think Buff and Doug actually on stage just battled it out. Were there any memorable conflicts rap-wise between you guys and any other crew that you could say, like, man, I wrote y'all was in a club, we got on stage, and we...
No, there was never any of that, because at the time, we were so big, like, nobody really... Like, you got to understand, unless you were really there, you can't really understand how big, like, the Fat Boys, Run DMC...
I know.
Unless you were there, you really can't comprehend how big they were. Like, they see artists like Drake today, like, we were big like that. Like, we couldn't walk in walls. Like, you know, we couldn't...
Yeah, you couldn't be out.
You know, we had to... So everybody kind of showed us love. We got a lot of respect. People would... Back then, there was no... Oh, I think he's dope. Let me sign him. We didn't know we could do that back then. I mean, if I know that, you know, I was friends with Jay-Z for a long time. Like, I used to love to tell him in his face, yo, Nick, dog, your voice and just, like, you dope. Like, but I had no clue that we can do that back then, you know? We never really had anyone approach us like that. It was always love. The only kind of little things we had was, we had a little thing with Kid and Play. Kid and Play had dissed us one time on the radio in New York when they had released House Party. I remember they were doing an interview on either BLS or Hot 97 or whatever it was at the time. And the guy, they were promoing their movie, House Party, right before they first came out. And they were like, yeah, the guy that directed, his name is Michael Schultz. Michael Schultz is the director of Coolie High, classic black movie.
Okay.
He did Coolie High. He did Disorderlies. Don't blame him for that, though. And he did our movie, House Party. You know what I mean? So I was like, huh?
Right.
I was like, what? Like, they talking tough? Oh, okay. So I had a little thing with them, but it wasn't nothing really. Like, you know what I mean? We were kids, like I said, you know? And we took things a little too much to heart back then. I should have just known they were just joking. You know what I mean? We knew each other. Yeah, we really didn't know each other that well, you know? But it was cool.
And I think you kind of answered one of the questions I was going to ask, because a lot of people know, you know, like, remember there was Kid and Play. They did House Party, right?
Right.
And then there was, now what I heard is that originally House Party was supposed to be for Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince. And they had beef with the makers of the film, because when they did Nightmare on My Street, you guys had actually the theme song for the movie, right? In the movie.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But so the movie company or whatever was mad at them, didn't use them, used Kid and Play. But Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince probably took a little bit of shine from you guys for doing the Nightmare, doing the Nightmare on Elm Street theme song using the music. Right. So I was kind of like wondering between that dynamic of those groups, which you would almost kind of say the pop rap groups,
right?
Being that, all three of you guys were in that lane of making these pop songs, doing movies, taking samples from well-known,
right?
What do you say, pop culture sounds and themes, right? So was there any kind of when you see the guys like, they go them niggas?
No, it was never that. No, it was never that. I always had love for all those guys. For Will, always had love for him. It was funny because the last time I seen him is when I was a DJ doing afternoon drives here in Miami for 103.5 The Beat. That's the iHeart company here, their hip hop station, and I was doing promos, and he released one of those movies. I think it was Hancock, and I went and interviewed him, and halfway through the interview is when he put two and two together and was like, "Oh shit, Mark!" Like, yo. But I've always had that love for him. I've always loved Kid and Play, their music. The only issue I ever had with Kid and Play was the time that they talked a little shit on the radio, and I ran into them, and we straightened it out, and it was
Yeah, and one thing that I appreciate too about Will Smith is that he definitely shows love to hip hop. You know what I mean? He hasn't forgotten where he comes from.
Nah.
Even when he did that song and he kind of brought Slick Rick and everybody back in, he's always doing something to kind of remind you that he comes from that, and he never shies away from it. It's just something that I've always appreciated and loved about Will Smith. Now, when did the Fat Boys actually disband? Was it an official breakup? Was it just like, yo, we're not doing it no more? What happened with the group?
Well, the tension started happening during our Crushing album, which is our biggest album. Our Crushing album was the fourth record that we dropped, and it was the album that dropped right when Disorderlies came out. It was kind of
had Wipeout on it.
Right, it had Wipeout on it, and Wipeout was our answer to Run DMC Walk This Way. And it was our manager who kind of like, yo, like they did a big record, a big rock record. Like, let's do a record. I'm going to see if I can find somebody. And he found the Beach Boys, which was a great idea. I loved the record. I thought it was amazing. It did a lot for us. It exposed us to even the audience outside of hip hop. It started exposing us to that MTV audience. We started appearing on, MTV Awards, giving out awards and doing all types of stuff and performing on there and all of that. But after that, that's when the pressure started, because I kind of wanted to get back to what we were doing on the first three albums, which was more directed at our hip hop. The other, Buff and Kool Rock, they kind of didn't care. Like, we were touring, we was making tons of bread, so they didn't care. But
they weren't writing the shit anyway.
Yeah, but I kind of saw facts. But I kind of saw what was gonna happen. Like, I saw like, yo, if we do this again, this is cool. Now let's get back to what we normally do. Because if we start doing more of this, our hardcore audience, the ones that consistently buy our music, they're gonna stop buying our music because we're not doing what they bought our music in the first place for.
We're gonna lose them.
And that's when the pressure started. And we ended up dropping a couple of more albums, and we ended up doing Wipeout, from Wipeout to The Twist with Louie Louie, The Twist to Louie Louie, another one after that, and it came to the point where we were on tour, and I started not caring anymore, because the music wasn't what it used to be. We were still filling in seats. We were selling out. I mean, we did, the New Edition tours. We did 2 New Edition tours. We did the Fat Boys Wipeout tour, sold out everywhere it went. I mean, every tour we did sold out, but I felt like the vibe, like, yo, listen, like, I'm not even feeling this no more. And I got into a big
it wasn't you.
Yeah. And I got into a big argument with my manager one of those nights. And he was kind of had the other guys in my group convinced that if he said so, we would be dead. We could be blackballed in the music business. They were convinced of that. So they secretly had a vote just between the two of them. He made them vote, and both of them voted me out of the group. And,
no way.
Yeah, and I was home for like a year. It was a year that I was home, and I was doing really bad because I was spending money crazy, first off, and they owed me a lot of money. We had just signed a big publishing deal before I left the group. Big ass publishing deal. We were getting like $2 million each or something like that in the 80s, which was amazing for the 80s.
Yeah, that's lifelong money.
Yeah, and but it went through our manager, and our manager didn't have to pay us individually until a certain date, which was like a year and a half out. So within that year, like halfway through it or 3/4 to it, I went through all my bread that I had in my account. So I'm like, let me get my money. And he's like, nah, I'm not giving, like on purpose, like telling me, nah, I ain't giving you nothing. Like, nah. So I remember Buff coming to my house one day and like bringing like 2 big ass buckets of fried chicken from Kentucky Fried Chicken, and 30,000 like in cash. And he came to my crib and was like, yo, here, like, here, hold that. That's you. Like, you know what I mean? Like, Buff always looked out for me, always had love. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
And he's like, yo, Mark, I'm going to talk to him and let him know, like, you need to give you your bread. Like, screw that, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to stand up for you. And maybe like a week later, I got a phone call from my manager. And he's like, all right, Mark, we're going to give you another chance to be in the group on probation. But if you act up again, I'm going to tell them to vote you out again. I'm like, all right, fuck it. Right. That day, I was supposed to leave the next day to meet them on tour. And they had been bringing out some other guy, some new guy that they met, some light-skinned guy kind of like favored me. And they were passing.
Probably my cousin Greg.
Greg, you owe me.
Right?
So Greg. so the guy, he was on the road with him, performing and all that. So the day before I was supposed to go out, I got a call from a lawyer friend of mine, this guy named Kendall Minter, who used to handle my production stuff. And Kendall told me that the reason why they wanted me to come back to the group, because it was time to Warner Brothers to re-up on the second movie, and they wouldn't do the movie unless they had all original members. So I was like, word? I was like, all right, so you know what? I don't want to be back in the group. I'm good. So I ended up, just to be spiteful at the time, I ended up not going back. And I started producing music right there. I took a chance on, producing for other people. And it worked.
Word. Now, tell me how you got into that. Listen, and this is a part, or should I say a chapter in your life and your story that a lot of people don't know.
Yeah.
You started, now, were you secretly producing while you were with the Fab? Like, did you produce on the album? Like, how did you hone that skill and get into it?
I ended up co-producing on like one of our last albums together with this guy named Fresh Gordon from Brooklyn. Fresh Gordon had a record out back in the days, and he was like a
Tommy Boy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, okay. All right, you're a student. Okay, a student.
Yeah, I know it.
Okay. For Fresh Gordon,
I got all that shit.
Yeah, Fresh Gordon was one of my best friends, so I used to be at his house every day, and that's when Jay used to come over every day. Jazz used to come over every day. We all used to make demo tapes just for ourselves to listen to and stuff like that. And the first Fat Boy albums, I used to watch Curtis Blow. I sit in the studio and just watch him because I wanted to learn how to produce. So that's how I learned. So I give all my knowledge of going around the studio, of working my way through a studio with on the board and mixing and all that, I owe to Curtis Blow. For me, just watching him and Larry Smith, R.I.P. Larry Smith, and Davey Dee. Davey Dee, who used to play bass. I mean, Larry used to play bass. Davey Dee used to play keyboards on our stuff, all our music. Fonda
and
Ray.
the Lindrum.
Yeah, exactly. Fonda Ray used to sung, and Allison Williams sung backgrounds, sung Fat Boys. Fat Boys Are Back was Fonda Ray by herself.
Right.
Over like a fat rat. That's Fonda Ray. She sung Fat Boys Are Back. Exactly.
Yeah.
Allison Williams sung Fat Boys, and Curtis Blow was just the super. He was the Diddy of that time. He was the one that put everything, all the magic, came up with the ideas, and I just used to watch him. So I learned my way around the studio from Curtis Blow, and then me and Gordon messing around, I started learning actually the creative part of it. And then after that, I ran into my mother at the time had a label called Rose Tone Records. Moms, you get, if moms sometimes they be like, I don't put a record deal. They know everything about the music industry now.
Yeah. They know everything is right.
Exactly. Gave her the bread, started a label, and signed this lady named Brenda. Brenda. And Brenda was in a group in the 60s. I know I'm going all around the place, but just bear with me for a second. I'll get to a point.
Yeah, go ahead.
Brenda was in a group in the 60s called the Exciters. They had a big song called Tell 'Em in the late 60s. And Brenda's son was a guy named Corey Rooney. So Corey Rooney, he used to come with his mom to my crib to meet with my mother. And I'd walk in every once in a while and see him sitting on my couch and be like, yo, what's up, bro? How you doing? We talk and everything. And one day he told me he sings. I'm like, word, let me hear some stuff when you got it. He's like, I got some right now. So we went in my room and I checked it out and it blew me away. Like, he sing his ass off. So, and he told me, he plays keyboards and all of that. So at the time I had some equipment in a little back room that I had. I was thinking about putting together a studio. So I bought some keyboards and some drum machines, but I never hooked them up. That day we hooked them up and we started working on music. And the very first song we did was a song for this artist named Father MC called "Treat Them Like They Want to Be Treated." So that was the first music we did. That very day, we went to the mall. We took a break. Let's go.
So you produced. So you produced that song.
Yeah, I produced. Yeah, I produced all of Father's hits. I produced. So
okay, great.
So that very same day that we did "Treat Them Like They Want to Be Treated," we ended up saying, "Let's take a break, go to the mall, get something to eat, holler at some girls, and we'll come back and get to work." While we were at the mall, we ran into Father MC walking in the sneaker store, and he's like, "Yo, Prince, yo, I need you on the song. Yo, I need you on the song." I'm like, fuck a song, nigga. I got songs for you. Like, come on to my crib right now. And that day we recorded "Treat Them Like They Want to Be Treated." I wrote all the lyrics for it. Corey wrote the hook. Corey did the music. I did the drums. And he let his label, Uptown Records, hear it. And they was like, "Yo, we need more music from these guys." And we ended up, doing this first album and, working with the second album and then really getting the big break production-wise that we needed by producing for Mary.
Right. So just run down a list because I know people don't know this. Run down the hits that you produced. And for who?
I mean, I worked, with Father, Mary J. Blige.
What songs for Mary? I'm saying, give me some of the songs.
Father MC, we did "Treat Them Like They Want to Be Treated." "Everything's Gonna Be All Right." "I'll Do For You" with Mary. We did for Mary. We did "Real Love." We did. We didn't write the song, but we redid "Sweet Thing." We did "Sweet Thing" for Mary. And two other songs on that album. We did "Genuine." We worked with. I mean, the list goes on and on. But a lot of the music that we did, that I thought that was our greatest things we did, really never even came out.
Okay.
We did songs for L. Just off the top of my head, I mean, it was so long ago. I can't remember everybody, but we did. I got like 4 LL records that never came out. Like, you know what I mean? That I have to this day. I have
nice
2 Mary J. Blige songs that nobody's ever heard. Like that, that are done. That we never ended up.
Hey man, you better do something.
Yeah. We worked with Genuine. We worked with J-Lo, Mariah Carey.
Right.
We worked with. We did a lot of the Sony stuff.
Okay.
Because we had to deal with Sony. Mariah loved Real Love so much. At the time, she was married to Tommy Mottola, and she told Tommy, "Sign these boys. I love that song, Real Love." And they ended up giving us like an unprecedented deal at the time. Like, they built us a studio, they gave us a label, 3 artists a year, a bunch of money, like $2 million a piece, like a lot of bread, a publishing deal for another $2 million a piece. Like, they really took care of us a lot, And we ended up signing a couple of groups. One of those